and with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you.
On the first day of the week, Mary of Magdala came to the tomb early in the morning while it was still dark, and saw the stone removed from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved, and told them, "They have taken the Lord from the tomb, and we don't know where they put him." So Peter and the other disciple went out and came to the tomb. They both ran, but the other disciple ran faster than Peter and arrived at the tomb first. He bent down and saw the burial cloths there, but did not go in. When Simon Peter arrived after him, he went into the tomb and saw the burial cloths there, and the cloth that had covered his head, not with the burial cloths, but rolled up in a separate place. Then the other disciple also went in, the one who had arrived at the tomb first, and he saw and believed. For they did not yet understand the scripture that he had to rise from the dead. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
So let's take a little closer look at this story. Mary Magdalene gets up while it's still dark and goes to a cemetery. How many of us would do that? She must have loved Jesus a great deal. But when she arrives there and sees that the tomb is open, she does what any of us would do: panics and runs. And she runs to Peter and John and the other disciples who are gathered together, which is an important point. Because as much as they did wrong, beginning with Holy Thursday and into Good Friday, and mostly abandoning Jesus and running away, the one thing they did right was to stick together. And by the time she arrives, frightened as she has come to the natural conclusion that his body has been stolen from the grave by one group or another of the authorities who had put Jesus to death. And what is their reaction? Well, hiding out as they were, cowering, afraid of being fingered by either the Jews or the Romans, as disciples of Jesus, as was Peter in the courtyard that Holy Thursday night, for all of the reasons that they had to stay hidden, they did not. Fearful as they were, they left where they were hiding. They ran out into the road, risking being identified, in order to go to this tomb and discover for themselves what had happened. Because they, too, cared so much for Jesus. And they arrived there, having overcome their fear and sense of panic. And Peter walks into the tomb, and John follows behind, and they're puzzled. Any of us would be. Yes, it appears that his body has been taken. And yet, what grave robbers roll up the burial cloths neatly and put them to the side? No, grave robbers just grab the body and run out as quickly as they can under cover of night. And the light goes on, and John realizes that something great has happened here. It is not a theft, but it is what Jesus had foretold, that he would rise from the dead. We understand the panic. We understand the fear. But this gospel story also gives us a sense of the elation that welled up in the disciples as they realized this good news. An elation that only grew as time went on and they became witnesses and testifiers to that truth, that Christ the Lord is indeed risen. We also recognize in this account, as it comes at the culmination of Holy Week, the humanity of those disciples. They, like us, can be consumed by fear, can run away, hide from Jesus Christ. And who can blame them as we look at all of these events that have taken place in the previous week? On Palm Sunday, they accompany Jesus, being acclaimed as a king, and have visions of being a conquering army, of being people who sit at his right and his left in this world and in the next, thinking that the culmination of all of Jesus' work and ministry and teaching will be that they will become important people, that they will restore the kingdom of Israel. Only a few days later, they see him taken, arrested, scourged, beaten, and crucified. And then, apparently at first, believe that his grave has been robbed. Imagine any of us in those circumstances and the mixture of confusing emotions that we would feel being bounced back and forth about what is going on. Confusion, misunderstanding, fear, but ultimately joy. And so we stand here today elated by the good news that God has fulfilled his promise to the people of Israel. That words were not enough, promises were not enough, but that promise became concrete in human form in the person of Jesus Christ, his Son, who came, who died, who rose from the dead. Which is why we say and sing, Alleluia, Alleluia. But we also have occasion to take pride and to be joyous about the example of these human disciples who surmounted their fear and their panic and their tossed emotions and came to see and to understand and to be emboldened by that truth to go out and to proclaim this gospel to all the nations. And we have reason to be elated that in the intervening 2,000 years, many, many people have done likewise. They have seen, they have heard, they have believed, they have felt, and they have experienced Jesus Christ in such a way that they were willing to go out and to give everything and give up everything, and sometimes to give up their very lives for the proclamation of that truth, because that is why we are here today. And we stand here today as believers in Jesus and as members of this church, a big, unwieldy, complicated, grace-filled, and sometimes sinful church, but nevertheless, the people of God struggling to persevere and to believe and to go out and to give testimony to the truth. So yes, we have many reasons to be joy-filled. We have many reasons to be elated and many reasons to walk out of this church grateful for the opportunity to go and to do what Jesus has commanded.